top of head, it goes to Mike Evans.
Yes, sir.
Championship week last year, where like Mike Evans had just a stretch of
dreadful
games, a stretch of games where the output was not what you needed from Mike Evans, and then he came through. Jay, do you want to pull up the stat line?
I've got him. He went 12 targets, 10 receptions, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, and you're talking to the champion right now, and you know who I had in my lineup because
you bought a jersey.
I bought a signed jersey immediately.
That's awesome. I hate buying tickets. I've been playing my whole life, never had to worry about buying tickets. Now I got to go to Nashville to watch Virginia play Tennessee. Hopefully it's competitive. But the ticket part is stressful. The game's stressful. The ticket part's really stressful. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. And with the Game Time app, it's easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. If I'm trying to see the monster trucks for my kids or Willie Nelson for me and my kids, I can find it all in the Game Time app. Game Time's the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has the deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code GREENLIGHT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code GREENLIGHT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, as promised, we get the fantasy footballers. These guys are great. I watched the show last night. I feel kind of prepared, honestly. It's like cramming in school. Just watch 1 3-hour show that these guys put on. It's information rich. It's informative. Check them out. How y'all doing?
We're in the thick of it, man. Fantasy season is here. Everyone's undefeated. We're doing good, but it's crazy. All the news, all the preseason, everybody trying to extrapolate every little teeny bit of information, projecting it over the whole freaking year. It's fun.
What do you think is the biggest storyline that kind of everything hinges on? That's not been resolved at this point in preseason?
It's got to be the running back situation with, both Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs. Just the whole money situation, and are they valuable, and are they going to play football? That's pretty important.
Yeah, Saquon earlier in the offseason.
Yeah,
as well, like the running back committee world where you don't have the same type of bell cows you always used to have. That now people are taking wide receivers earlier in drafts because they're afraid, and I think that's been a big storyline at least.
Yeah, with the running back thing, it's there's a couple guys I love, but they're going to be playing, they're going to be seeing stacked boxes. Like Dameon Pierce would probably be one who's a machine no matter what, and I'd love to draft him, but I kind of wonder how you guys come about finding that that Mendoza line for a guy where you'd really like to have him on your team. He's going to get a lot of carries, but are they going to be high-quality opportunities for that guy? How do you guys find that kind of point where you say, hey, no thanks?
Sure. I mean, when we do our rankings, we do our best to make a whole full projection system. And the way I do it, I start at the top, so I'm trying to figure out what are how good is this offense going to be? And then I start kind of filtering, well, I think that this running back will get this market share of what this team has to offer for me, and the numbers just kind of get where they are, and then it's all about playing the average draft position or ADP market, knowing when and where to jump in on certain positions. But you start with the offense first, so because we want touchdowns, of course, and then what's the archetype of the running back? Because we need guys we're talking about PPR and stuff like that. You need a running back who's going to catch the ball, simply a target, not even just a catch. A target is essentially worth about 2.5 times more than just a single carry. So we want guys who are going to do hopefully both, but with the specialization of the position. It's pretty rare to see a guy like Eckler and McCaffrey anymore. We get guys like Dameon Pierce, who last year was he was a great rookie.
Mm-hmm.
He was on a poor offense, but he was a grinder. He wasn't getting that third down work. So what we're looking for in the preseason is how are teams rolling these guys out? Because the addition of Devin Singletary, former Buffalo Bill running back to the team, it's not nothing. Like Singletary was a pretty good player for the Bills for a few years. How is he going to work into it? And then we kind of got a small answer this past weekend for the preseason week 2, where Dameon Pierce was the guy. Like last year, third and fourth down with very, very minimal snaps and opportunities for Dameon Pierce. Already looks like that could see an uptick. So while his offense doesn't project to be super strong, you got a rookie quarterback who's going to be in charge. It doesn't usually lead to real success for the fantasy position at talking about running back, but there's at least reason to have optimism that this guy could be a real workhorse, and you want to have a real workhorse in your running back 2 spot.
Can I hit a sidebar real quick?
Yeah.
Singletary, they mentioned Singletary. I just played him in a grid for like 10-plus touchdowns in a season. So,
Nice,
he was
dude.
pretty damn good in Buffalo. But do you guys play grids? Or are you guys just like among the best in the world at this? Because you guys got all – like you know the third back on every team. Have you guys delved into the grid universe, dude?
I cannot say that I have.
Oh, my
No,
God.
me either.
Dude.
I'm not a gritter.
Is there just money sitting out there for us? Is that
No,
what
there's
you're
no
saying?
money. Is there money in this
No.
thing, Matt? Okay, so there's money. My producer says there's money. I've been playing hard, not
You're an
smart the
amateur.
last week, dude. But it's fun. You guys know the concept of it, right?
Is this where you're the giving us the teams and the positions?
Yeah, teams and positions.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah,
basically,
I'm familiar
teams.
with the game.
Yeah, it's pretty damn cool. I mean, you gotta really be on your P's and Q's, and I figured you guys should check that out. We've been playing them like crazy. Mate, go ahead. What was your question?
Guys, we're in a 10-team PPR redraft league. Your presence on today's show made our commish get with it and give us a draft position. Chris is picking 7th.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 9th. Where does the consensus this year stop for you guys? Is it at 4? Is it Jefferson, Chase, McCaffrey, Eckler in some order? Or is it somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, as the offseason has gone on, I think we've crept up on where the top couple positions have generally been McCaffrey, Jefferson in some order. Jamar Chase with Burrow's calf, although we got good news about that today. Chase is in the mix there as well. Tyreek Hill and Eckler. You're both picking from the spots where we've seen a lot of like Travis Kelce first going off the board, as well as like the Bijan Robinson zone where the excitement for the rookie in Atlanta. That's kind of that later first round where people have spent up on Kelce, just so dominant for so long in fantasy, and at this point we're just like expecting it from him every year.
Yeah, you guys are both at a spot where you're past the known commodities. Like the first 6 picks, those are going to be pretty much the same guys. And then where you guys are at, it's user choice. If you think Stephon Diggs is better because he's done it for longer, or you think A.J. Brown is better because he's the new hotness, or you want to go with the rookie and Bijan, you guys really get to choose.
Yeah.
So there's some freedom there to being
Love
there where
that.
it's like I get to call my shot.
Love that, because then nobody can criticize you for fucking it up. You're like, well, I was just doing. I was going with my
There is
gut.
a lot of pressure in fantasy where
Yes.
where there's like a freedom to that factor where like maybe you don't believe in somebody, but you feel like I gotta take them so nobody
Yep.
gives me crap at the draft because
Yeah, the peer pressure.
the peer pressure's real.
What about you guys mentioned Bijan? I'm thinking about Kyle Pitts and targets that seem like they would have big years, but you got Desmond Ridder down there. I know you guys were talking about,
Yeah.
one of you guys picked Mike Evans for your dude, one of your
Yep.
dudes, and you really put it into context nicely with the Mike Evans. I mean, he's chasing history. The guy's really in that echelon, and he's saying this stuff knowing full well he's probably going to see either Baker or Kyle Trask this year.
Right.
So he's confident, but how confident are you guys, and how do you figure out who can overcome bad quarterback play?
That's such a good question. And like last year, there was this illusion, specifically in Seattle, where like you went into the offseason, you have talent in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett that's been proven on the NFL field, but then the fantasy community was out on those two players just because Russ was gone, and this was going to be like Drew Lock competing with Geno Smith, and we don't know what's going to happen. So that was at least a lesson in humility a little bit for the fantasy world, where like talent generally wins out. Whether Baker and Kyle Trask can do it that's when you look at something like Mike's talking about market share for running backs. You start looking at target share for wide receivers, and you just hope that volume piles up. You know, they're in a division with, like, you know, it's kind of wide open.
Yeah.
So that's one source of optimism to me, is that, like, maybe, you know, they can compete even if people don't expect them to. And you hope that Baker, with that proven track record of throwing deep, just goes to the biggest dang man on the field every single time. And, you know, Evans has done it with so many other quarterbacks that at least, you know, he has that in the track record of not being dependent on one guy.
What's changed with Derrick Henry despite a few more miles on the odometer, one more year? Is this the year that they start to mix in a couple other guys in that backfield? Is Hopkins the addition Tennessee hopes he's going to be, or is Derrick Henry going to churn out another RB6, RB7 year?
Yeah, he's awesome. He's just too good at football. He's too big of a human. And we didn't see anything last year that said he's slowing down at all. You look at what the team is talking about around him. He is the center of their offense. They did draft a really talented rookie in Tajay Spears. So there's questions, right? Like, will they get, you know, a little bit more rest for Derrick Henry? But I don't think that's what he needs. He needs to just keep just plowing into defenders. You see it every year, the end of the year, the end of the games. He just gets stronger. We call him the Yeti.
Yeah.
When it starts snowing and the weather starts changing,
He transforms.
It is bad news for the rest of the NFL. I think the Hopkins trade actually is extremely good for Derrick Henry. What it does in a winnable division is it says they're going to be winning more games. And for Derrick Henry, a guy who's not really a pass-catching back, he scores a lot more in the games they win. And so if they're up and, they're going into the fourth quarter, you're going to see him get close to 30 carries in a game. And I don't think that the wear and tear on his legs are there yet. We haven't seen an ounce of decline. And you got to remember, he started his career. He's later into his career, but his first few years he wasn't really used that much because he was behind DeMarco
Murray.
Yeah. Another good grid name there. Hope the Titans are on our grid today.
I got another team for you with a question at quarterback.
Okay.
Would you rather have Terry McLaurin where he goes, or Jahan Dotson a couple rounds later?
Yeah, the Washington Commanders, boys. It's not the easiest situation to figure out. Dotson exploding, though, just showing the touchdown prowess. It's so interesting for us, as we don't have your inside knowledge of football players, but how do you have wide receivers? Like, I'll go to the Atlanta situation where you had Julio Jones, one of the best wide receivers of all time, and Calvin Ridley playing together, and it was like Julio, we never got prolific touchdown numbers from him. Meanwhile, Calvin Ridley's like, well, no, it's real easy.
Strolls in as a rookie with double digits.
You just rattle off a bunch of touchdowns, Julio. What are you doing? And that could be the situation we're looking at with Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. McLaurin's incredible. I think he is one of the better wide receivers, just route runner, hands, speed. He has everything. But Dotson is just one of these sneaky guys who's able to score a whole bunch of touchdowns. So when you're looking at the market, the ADP, I think they're both okay. Like, McLaurin is a fine pick where he is, but there's a lot of things that could go wrong when you factor in the other names that are around him. Meanwhile, Jahan Dotson's going multiple rounds later, and for me, just personally, it wouldn't shock me if at the end of the year they're just right next to each other, because McLaurin has more catches and more yards, but Dotson ends up with 3 or 4 more touchdowns. So they're interesting, but if I have to just take one factoring in the market, I'll go with Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've loved Terry McLaurin. He's been one of my dudes this whole offseason. But there are so many people in the 5th round where he's going that I also love. Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, DJ Moore. There's a lot of talented players there. In the 8th round where Dotson's going, it's like maybe
questions.
There's a lot more questions there. So I think you take Dotson, have a little bit more security, and grab a different player in the 5th.
Good playmaker. He gets the ball in his hands. A lot of run after the catch with him. And Ridley, you mentioned him down in Jacksonville. The question for me is, like, who's the number one down there? I mean, for some people it might seem kind of clear, but this guy is his arrival's been heavily awaited down there. I think he's going to make a lot of plays. Is it Ridley? Is it Kirk? How do you see the target shares going in Jacksonville?
Is Ridley.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's Ridley as well. I mean, he just is kind of a next level talent. You've seen it on the practice field. It's been a long time, but we've also seen how well Christian Kirk functions and kind of let, you know, call it 1B, call it the number 2 role. He did it in Arizona with DeAndre Hopkins on the other side. And so it just really, Ridley's arrival means such good things for that offense. Like, we've loved what we've seen from Tank Bigsby being a compliment to Travis Etienne in Jacksonville. It looks like Trevor Lawrence can take the step forward with all those weapons. They brought back Ingram. Zay Jones is kind of an underrated, unheralded piece on that offense. So, you know, I think we expect big things from Ridley. Hopefully he can come back to form because it's been a while.
Yeah, I think the reason I'm so confident now that it's Ridley as the number 1 target is what we saw in the preseason is when they went to 2 wide receiver sets, we would have thought previous that would be Ridley and Christian Kirk on the field, but it wasn't. It was Zay Jones. Christian Kirk was pretty much the slot player, and so that to me says that the alpha is going to be Ridley.
2 running back rooms I can't get a handle on. Miami is just, you know.
It's plug and play.
San Francisco, Southeast.
Yeah.
But then another is Philly. Do you guys have a read on this with DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny, and Kenneth Gainwell?
We were hoping you'd tell us who the
I like Swift,
the starters.
I like Gainwell.
We don't have a
Gainwell's awesome, but I just there's something about Swift, man. He might be one of the more talented guys they've had in the backfield.
Well, there's 5 of us. We could all say 5 different names.
Right.
If you
Yeah,
want.
let's call our shots.
The bottom line is
it
it doesn't matter in Philly because
I
they're
know.
so good up front. I mean, there's so much space to operate for whoever's back there.
We were talking about it on today's show, the fact that, like, it looks like it's Kenny Gainwell who is going to get the most touches, but he might be more of a between-the-20s guy. There's going to be at least 3 involved running backs, and the truth, if you look at last year, Miles Sanders was pretty much the dude. For fantasy, he finished as the running back 13, and so you think, oh, he was awesome. He had double-digit touchdowns. He was great, except he really kind of sucked for fantasy if you're in a home league because –
unpredictable.
It was unpredictable. You never knew when to start him, and even though he had a couple big games, his consistency was so bad for the running back position that I think he hurt you as much as he helped you, and that was with a really strong season-long finish. So if you remove that and you split it up a couple of ways, I don't really want to play there.
That's what's so funny. Like, both Super Bowl teams last year, and this is why the running back position is in tumult a little bit. Like, both Super Bowl teams, you know, they didn't have just one guy contributing at the running back position. You had Pacheco and McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then on the other side, Miles Sanders and Boston Scott and Gainwell. Like, these were the best of the best teams.
Yeah.
And it seems like more and more, you know, people. You mentioned Miami. It's like, who's it going to be? It's going to be all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the answer. It'll be Mostert. And then as soon as you're like, all right, I got confidence to put Mostert in my lineup, it'll be a Jeff Wilson week.
Exactly.
And then, yeah, I mean, it's just going to be, you know, that's why those top tier backs are so hard to come by, because you're kind of, you know, you're casting lots a little bit with some of these other rosters.
And if you pick, you know, any of those Philly guys, as these guys pointed out, I mean, Jalen Hurts is going to poach some touchdowns. So,
Yes, he will.
you know, that's an issue there. How do you guys kind of triangulate somebody's season if they're on the trade block? You know, like somebody that you're pretty sure is going to get moved. You know, is there ever an opportunistic grab as you see somebody being a little bit upwardly mobile when it comes to fantasy if they get dealt?
It's funny because the one name that comes to my head from last year that did see that upward movement was T.J. Hawkinson in that trade, where we were kind of waiting for some sort of consistency to form in Detroit, and he was the kind of but there haven't been a lot of those where it's like you're looking at a midseason trade and having enough confidence that not only are they going to arrive on this better situation, but they're going to have opportunities right away to contribute. So that was kind of an outlier to me, having him make an impact.
Yeah, we certainly on the podcast we cover when the rumor mill starts firing up that a player is going to be traded, and kind of make this speculation. Hey, if you want to go put in a lowball offer for this player right now, you can do it. But I mean, like the Hawkinson one, if I remember it right, that kind of caught everybody off guard, at least publicly. We didn't know that was going to happen. And then the one that everyone was sure was going to happen was Kareem Hunt was going to get traded last year from the Cleveland Browns, and Then that never happened because they said Kareem's a big part of this team, and then they shut him down. Like, they didn't put him back on the field. So it's part of fantasy football is just it's the ebbs and the flows of what is the actual public opinion of this player right now. So there's all the stuff on the field, but then there's all the psychology of what do people actually think about this guy right now, and if they're moved, you make your gambles of will that actually pay off?
Yeah.
Mike, Jason, Andy, you guys are talking to the person in America who picked Romeo Doubs the highest out of anyone else.
Okay.
Was it the 7th round last year?
Yeah, I'd like to take a chance at looking like a genius.
The reigning
nobody
champ.
remembers your 7th round pick except for in this situation, I guess. I was a year early on Romeo Doubs.
That's right.
Okay, so who is this the end of the question?
Yeah, no, you got it.
How's
That was
Romeo
more of a
Doubs going to
statement.
be this year? Should I
just
draft
wanted to
him?
bring it up.
Yeah, big Romeo. Should I draft him? And what do
So-
you think about Dontavian Wicks? Probably not draftable, but man, pretty fucking impressive.
Keep
out
an
there
eye
doing
out.
it,
Yep.
Sure. I'll go back to Romeo Doubs real quick, and it made 7th that's pretty aggressive for a guy
I'm known.
who was,
I'm a little bit of a wild card in the draft room.
but that's all leagues have that. Every single league
Has a drunk
you
guy.
are in. There will be multiple picks. There's going to be multiple picks where you go, oh, well, that was interesting
That was
because
spicy.
that was off the script, and it's great. Those picks need to
fun.
happen because at the end of the year, like crazy stuff happens.
Yes.
It's the
You
NFL.
gotta take chances.
But Romeo Doubs, like he started actually okay for a rookie. I mean, you had the wide receiver 12 finish in week 3, making
Who
some
could
plays here or
forget?
there, and then unfortunately the injury is what I think derailed him.
Yeah.
Now Doubs is back to being the king of the offseason because he was the king of the offseason last year, where it was they trade up for Christian Watson, size, speed, freak, but he's missing all of camp. And Romeo Doubs has got that hype train rolling.
Yeah.
He's got it rolling again.
Yeah.
I mean, getting all the snaps, getting deep targets from Jordan Love that they're showing off on the Twitter sphere. So I'm interested. I think that Romeo Doubs could be in that
10th
that
round.
post-hype sleeper category where he actually comes through and he's a usable player this year.
We actually have a sleeper episode coming up here pretty soon. I'll peel the curtain back.
Yeah.
One of us actually has Romeo
Yeah.
Doubs as our sleeper
There
pick,
we
so
go.
we're with you.
Okay.
It was round 9. I didn't mean
Round
that.
9.
Yeah,
Fuck
a little
me.
hyperbole.
that's-
That's a
round
totally
9.
different thing.
It is. Round 9, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So
All right, we talked about faces in new places. Would you be more surprised if Darren Waller is tight end 1 or tight end 10?
10.
Ooh.
That'd be way more surprising.
2 or 10?
No.
Then I would say
He's just saying what's more surprising. So success or failure?
in
what's
that sense,
higher?
failure.
Whatever the fuck.
Failure would be more surprising.
Ceiling
I
of
think
the
we're all
floor.
really high on Darren Waller. What he's done in camp, all the reports are that he's just dominating both the players and the targets.
Yeah.
And so for fantasy, I do think he's going to be outstanding this year. It's hard to say one, though, because there's a guy in Kansas City who's literally a Greek god and won't age out of football somehow.
So here's a question for you. We have an award we give out every week on this show called the St. Louis Rams Memorial Award, which is basically a guy who balls out and nobody's watching the game at all because the team sucks or whatever. It's kind of a callback to my illustrious career. But I'm wondering.
Hey, we're Cardinals fans
Yeah,
over
okay.
here, so we
You
remember
watch
who
the
you
NFC
are, sir.
West. Okay.
Yeah,
You're
we-
one of
we
the-
remember
the
you.
6 million people nationally who are watching the NFC West when we're playing. But the question is, who is an STL Memorial fantasy guy this year that nobody's going to be watching? And you can almost use that factor to your advantage in drafting a guy that people aren't thinking about because of where they play.
I got one for you because we'll go straight to the NFC West for it. Hollywood Brown
Yes.
may have a year
You shouted him out?
Yeah.
in absolute, no one watches the games. Clayton Tune, Colt McCoy, eventually Kyler. Not a lot of victories, but Hollywood, he's a player, man. Yeah, he's a good player. He's going to demand the targets. Hopkins, I mean, he's not there anymore, so Hollywood's going to get it done. I don't know how many people are going to watch it happen, but he's a sneaky pick.
Are you worried
Yeah, over
about? Are
those-
you worried about Cooper Kupp along the same vein? Because I don't think LA is going to be very good, and I don't know how healthy Matt Stafford is all year, and the target shares might be up. I don't know, but like, how does
It feels fragile. It feels
Yes.
fragile with Stafford and with that offense, but if Stafford's out there, I'm not worried about Kupp.
Okay.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp was so far and away still the best wide receiver last year.
Yeah.
Like you had it turned into the Justin Jefferson year, of course, because end of season he was the number one guy. Had a huge season, but Jefferson did have a couple hiccups in the resume this past year. Meanwhile, before Cooper Kupp went down, he was averaging multiple points per game more than Justin Jefferson, and he seems healthy. Like we got that good Kupp news.
Yeah, back at practice.
That he's back at practice. Seems like he should be ready to go. So fragile is the right word. That if this offensive line can't come together and protect Stafford, who has had kind of a few years running now of he's an older guy and he's taken a lot of hits in his career. If Stafford goes out, that would be a pretty big downgrade to Cooper Kupp. It wouldn't be the end of Cooper Kupp because he's just too good.
Yeah.
But that situation feels more fragile than like Kirk Cousins with Jefferson.
Who's going to be the most overdrafted player in this draft?
Like before the last couple of days, I would have said Jonathan Taylor. But the public is kind of starting to react appropriately because we're not 100% sure what is going on in Indianapolis. It seemed very much like a contract dispute. We have the infamous hour-long bus meeting with the team owner. That was weird. Then you have the leak that's Jonathan Taylor has said, I want to be traded because he's trying to get that shmoney. Don't blame him. But then the team's like, no, we're not going to trade you, which trading a running back can be very, very difficult. And then you're like, oh, no, Jonathan Taylor is actually still hurt from this ankle situation from the past year. And by all accounts, he should have been ready to go a while ago. So it's pretty scary just dealing with the injury, dealing with the contract. Then you have to factor in it'll be Anthony Richardson at the quarterback position, he's a rookie quarterback and he's a mobile quarterback. Both of those things are not great for fantasy football output from the running back position, but he's still Jonathan Taylor. There's no doubt that guy is still a top 5 running back in the NFL, but will his opportunities, will his health allow him to be what he was 2 years ago? And currently I would bet on no.
Yeah, I think I could throw one more name.
Yeah, I
into
got
the
one
mix.
too.
Go. Joe Burrow.
Oh, that was my name.
Yeah, I think that's the tough one
That
because he's going you've got Allen, Mahomes, and Hurts that are going to go ahead of Burrow, but then you've got guys who really like later the Justins, right? Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, and here's Joe Burrow, kind of like, it's just tough when you're not a mobile quarterback. Yeah. I mean, he's an outstanding outstanding real life quarterback, but if the touchdown variation, right? Like if he throws 40, you're happy. If he throws 33, he's overdrafted.
Yeah, for sure. And you also have the risk with the calf of re-aggravation as the season goes on, and or the worry that he wasn't that mobile already. I think he had about 250 rushing yards last year, and obviously for fantasy, rushing is worth more to a quarterback than passing, so it's more valuable for fantasy points. But that could go down. If he's worried about the calf, doesn't want to have re-aggravation, maybe he only has 100 to 150 rushing yards this year.
Quick question for you guys. I got a couple just general. Number one, how many leagues is too many?
Oh man, we get that question a lot. People think we play in like 100 of them. We intentionally carve it down so that we can enjoy Sunday and actually root for players.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than
we got 2 or 3 that are like live and breathe, will make or break our emotional state for the weekend, right? And then we're in a handful of other ones sometimes together. You need to have a rooting interest.
For sure. And it depends on the type of league, because I feel like you can have a couple extra dynasty leagues where you're not doing waiver wires every day and grinding as much. But for me, it's like any more than 5 leagues, and I am going to hate life.
Yeah, the game on a Sunday where you're like, I need David Montgomery to score over 13 points, but under 17 points.
You throw in the
Yeah,
prop bets, it's a fucking mess, dude.
It's just that's not a healthy place to live when your margin for victory is so small, and it relies on success yet not too much success.
Yeah. It's like betting a couple teasers and having the under and the over, and
you don't even know what to do. You're like, am I crying right now?
The answer is yes to this question. Is your favorite draft a salary cap draft?
Ooh.
Yes.
Right answer.
Because you said
Right
that
answer.
is the
Yes.
answer. I also think that for us specifically doing full-time fantasy for many, many, many years, if salary leagues are, an auction league, it gives an advantage to the people who know more about fantasy football, know all the players, know the value of everyone. Because in a normal redraft league, sometimes who you're going to take, it's not even – you don't have a choice, right? Like you don't get to – like everyone likes Justin Jefferson, but did you get one of the first 2 picks? Because if not, you don't even need to worry about that. You're not in play. But when every single player is available for every single manager, then you're like, okay, who knows the most? So in that sense, it can be the most fun. Personally – my favorite is still the redraft, is the keeper league, is just the fun drafting leagues that
don't take like 12, 15 hours to get a draft over with.
The auction ones could take a while.
Last one for you here. Hall of Famers in fantasy. And I ask this because of performances. I don't mean, Austin Eckler. I mean like one night where everybody's ass was on the line and this guy came through. Those
Kamara,
unforgettable.
6 TDs.
Yeah, the 6 TD Kamara game, stuff like that. Like the past few years, are there some unforgettable late season performances that you guys still talk about?
I'll jump in here because top ahead it goes to Mike Evans.
Yes, sir.
Championship week last year, where like Mike Evans had just a stretch of
dreadful
games, a stretch of games where the output
the
was not what you needed from Mike Evans. Yeah. And then he came through. Jay, do you want to pull up the stat line?
I've got him. He went 12 targets, 10 receptions, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, and you're talking to the champion right now, and you know who I had in my lineup because
you bought a jersey.
I bought a signed jersey immediately.
That's awesome.
I remember Todd. I don't remember exactly the week or stat line, but I remember Todd Gurley's the first McVay year. Mm-hmm. After everyone was down on
it. It was pretty much every week.
But it was every week, but it also carried right through the playoffs where it was like you watched Todd Gurley play a half and you had won your week. Yeah. I mean, it was over. It was over.
Yeah.
And then shout out just a couple years ago because you have the players who made a big impact for a very small amount of time. I was a big fan of Jeremy Hill, who was on the Cincinnati Bengals.
You beat me with
So Giovanni Bernard goes down, unfortunately, to injury. It's Jeremy Hill's backfield. He turns into a monster, including championship week. I believe it was like a 70-yard house call against the Denver Broncos, and it was just,
that was against me, not the Broncos.
Yes, and then it was over after that. I was a champion.
I have Todd Gurley's championship week line from that first year. He was 22 carries for 118 yards. 10 receptions for 158 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. So, that goes in the Hall of Fame.
That's why I remembered it.
That's awesome.
That's wild.
We got to ask you for the shooting stars, the Jeremy Hills of the world, another time you come back. But I wanted to give people a heads up on a couple of things that these guys are doing. Number one, this is very cool. The fantasy footballers have raised over $250K for St. Jude's Children's Hospital from the sales of their Ultimate Draft Kit, which I will be purchasing if I need to purchase it. I think it probably –
my man.
Over the last 5 years, they've done this. So appreciate what you guys do. Currently the #1 sports podcast worldwide. We got the boys on the show right now. And then August 26th, these guys are going to be live in L.A. So if you live in L.A., you listen to the show, go check these guys out. Where is that show?
It's at the Palace Theater in Los Angeles. Okay. It's going to be fun.
Nice.
Have you done it before?
Saturday.
Have you done a live show?
We've done a lot of live shows. Most years we tour and hit about 4 or 5 places around the country, do some smaller shows, some more packed out, smaller venues. This time, though, 1,000-seat Palace Theater. It's going to be
People like their fantasy.
wild
man.
environment.
They
this
like
year.
their fantasy.
That's what's called a neg. We're like, hey, you're the #1 show in the country. Have you ever done a live show?
You spill your water, huh?
You're spilling your
You
drink.
all right?
That's okay.
All right.
That's all right.
CJ Spiller,
Romeo Doubs.
Buffalo Bills. Who
nice.
else is CJ?
Oh.
Romeo Doubs, round 9. You're talking to a champion here. Like, I'm going to win this year, guys, with your help. Thank you. He's too proud to buy your thing, but I'm going to buy the thing. He thinks
Appreciate
he's a
it.
fucking
Thanks,
genius.
guys.
He don't need
Guys,
it.
it
Y'all
was
take
fun.
it easy,
Good talking
man, and
to you.
enjoyed it. Come
Yeah.
back another time.